Welcome to InTrend, a USLI podcast where we dive into the latest trends, insights, and ideas shaping the insurance industry. I'm your host, Will Shane, and today I'm joined by Meredith Bennett to talk about cybersecurity and data privacy. Meredith Bennett is a vice president and national underwriting practice leader at USLI. She has 19 years of experience in the insurance industry. Meredith is a recognized expert in technology errors and omissions, privacy, and cyber liability. She regularly leads cyber risk seminars, teaches cybersecurity awareness, and serves on both the Net Diligence Claims Advisory Board and the Plus Cyber Professional Liability Education Committee. Meredith brings deep insight into the evolving landscape of cyber risk that insurance businesses face in the digital age. Let's get into it. Meredith, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much for including me.
I am excited to talk about cybersecurity and data privacy with you.
Well, I'm excited to talk about it as well. It's all I talk about.
It's quite the topic right now in insurance, isn't it?
It's a really exciting time to be a cyber underwriter.
What's the big deal? Why are we talking about it?
It's definitely trending. It 100% fits in with the title of your podcast, InTrend. Cyber risk is not going away, right? Technology is not going away. Think about every single day. Right now, listening to this podcast, you're using a device to listen to this podcast. Everything that we do involves technology, and technology can be infiltrated and taken advantage of, and that is why you need cyber liability.
Infiltrated, taken advantage of, like the person in the movie with the hood in the dark basement writing code in order to steal money?
That's exactly what they look like, yes. And they wear gloves, apparently. I'm not really sure.
They do? Why?
I don't know. Why are they always portrayed with gloves? And some of it is just an individual, right, trying to get some money. Sometimes it's nation-sponsored. A lot of these organizations, and I call it an organization because they're structured like a business. They call themselves a ransomware gang, or we call them a ransomware gang, but they're structured as a business. They have recruiting, they have vacation time, they have benefits, they have help desk. So if you fall victim to a ransomware attack and you need help with how to make that payment, you can just chat in or call, yes. So they've become more and more sophisticated. So as technology advances, so do the threat actors.
That's hard to believe. Do you have examples of things that they do?
Well, yes.
Where do you
How
start?
long is this podcast? I would say what we're seeing trending is ransomware, as well as business email compromise.
Okay.
So ransomware, most people are familiar with, but just to clarify, this is a virus that enters your computer and encrypts all of your data. That's a simple ransomware attack, right? I always joke with my colleagues that, back in the good old days, which was really about 10 years ago, the ransomware attacks, the threat actors had no idea who they were targeting. And so they would just kind of cast a very wide net and hope that somebody clicked on the link, and they would encrypt their files and ask for $500 as a ransom. Great. Well, they evolved, as I said. And so now they do things such as double extortion, where they know exactly who they're targeting, and they get someone in that organization to click a link, and that person clicks the link and nothing happens. And that's what's really scary. So now they're in their system. You have no idea that they're in your system. They're in your system for, 6 months, and they're watching and they're learning. And then they deploy the ransomware. They also, by the way, probably exfiltrated all of the data. So it's not just that you're encrypted, it's also that they've stolen it all. And when they submit the ransomware demand, a good cyber policy will have coverage for this. So let me start by saying that it will cover this, and it will cover for negotiators. And the negotiators will come in and say, well, we can't pay $1 million. Let's try and get that ransomware demand down. And the hackers may say, oh no, we know that you have $1 million. Just don't pay your CEO his end of year bonus, because that's what you were slated to pay your CEO at the end of the year, because they've been in there watching and listening. And then you say, okay, we don't want to pay. And they say, well, then we're going to release all of the information that we exfiltrated out of your system onto the dark web, and we're going to sell it. So it's not just that you're paying the ransom anymore to get the decryption key so that you can start working again. You're paying the ransom to stop them from selling the information and publicly hosting the information. Yes, you're taking a chance that they're going to legitimately either give you the decryption key and or not post that information. But as I said, these are now, business type of models, and they know that if they don't keep their word, then no one's going to pay in the future. So they do tend to keep their word. I think that is trending downwards, though, that they're keeping their word. We're seeing more and more that they're just selling it anyway because it's an extra way to make money. But some of the bigger ransomware gangs will not post it online if you pay them, or give you the decryption key if you pay them.
That's terrifying and amazing to imagine that could start from an email. All of that? That is hard to believe.
Yes.
One email, it's malicious. You closed the link and thought that you were safe afterwards. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case.
Not the case.
So it's important to carry insurance and a robust liability to protect yourselves. But what things can you do prior to getting that email to keep yourself and your business safe, or to keep that from happening?
One of the things that we teach here is cybersecurity awareness to all of our employees. And I think that's really important just for the employees to understand what the risks are and what to look for. And again, the good old days of ransomware and phishing emails, there were a lot of typos and a lot of grammar mistakes. We don't see as many anymore. They tend to be a lot more timely in the sense of they may ask for W-2s around tax season, or they may try and trick you around the holiday season with pretending to be FedEx or UPS. So they've gotten good at targeted attacks in that regard. So just if your employees are aware, do you usually get an email from this sender? Things to look for in the to field. Does the signature in the email match who you were expecting it from? And always look for grammar and misspellings. But one of the things that I like to teach as well is every business has a culture. Every business has a culture. And it's really hard for the threat actors to imitate your culture. Okay. So if you don't use certain terminology in your workplace and they're using that terminology, that should be a good indicator that maybe this isn't who you thought it was from. So just to be, awareness of the employees, always hover over the link to see if it's going to send you where you're expecting it to send you. That's a good indicator. But also, if you're expecting an email from someone, you can always call them, but use the phone number that you know to be associated with that person. Don't ever use the phone number that you see in the email. And that's because they will put a fake phone number in, and then they will also impersonate that person. So now with AI capabilities, I know the look on your face, we're just getting started. You're going to be so scared by the end of this podcast.
What I'm taking away is, when in doubt, call and make sure that something's legitimate, right?
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes. Always pick up the phone with a known phone number and make sure that email is from the person that you thought it was.
Okay. I want to get into AI. I can't wait to talk about that. And I'm excited to hear some examples if you have any.
I do.
Okay. If we can back up just a little bit, you said the good old days in insurance, and then you said 10 years, which is very funny.
Yes.
Can you talk about what was out there for somebody in an insurance policy in their BOP to protect them from risks like this or from phishing attacks, and then compare that a little bit to what's out there today?
Yeah, so the cyber policy has really evolved over the years. The first cyber policy was kind of late 90s, early 2000s,
Okay.
and it has evolved so much, whether it be the limits that are provided, endorsements, exclusions, different coverages, because as cyber threats evolve, the policies have to evolve with them. And so it's one of the things I love about being a tech and cyber underwriter is that it does always keep me on my toes, and I need to be aware of what's happening. Take, for example, payment card industry fines and penalties. It's a great example of a coverage that in the beginning of a cyber policy wasn't always offered. So payment card industry, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, they all got together and came up with security standards that business owners who are accepting credit cards should adhere to. And were you to have a breach and found to not be adherent to those security standards, they could fine you. So credit card breaches were huge. And so if you were a hotel or a business that had a large breach of credit cards, if you were fined by the payment card industry, you would want that covered on your cyber policy. Not all cyber policies covered that at the time. Then it became so prevalent that everybody wanted PCI fines and penalties on their policy, even if they didn't really take credit cards. They just wanted to make sure, just in case I have that coverage.
Of course.
So we see that happen with some of these coverages where maybe it's not included and then it is, and then everybody wants it, even though that may not be a main exposure for them. Always good to have it, right? Because you never know, and that's why you have insurances for a bad day. But the hackers wanting credit cards hasn't gone away, but they just realize they can make a lot more money with ransomware attacks and with business email compromise attacks.
And now they have a break room, apparently, and they're making coffee and talking about this.
Yes, they are.
Unbelievable.
And recruiting.
And recruiting. Unbelievable. So who does this apply to? Who does this exposure exist for? Who is it alive for? Who's at risk?
Everyone. See, I told you I was going to make you paranoid by the end of this podcast.
I am a little bit.
Everyone's at risk. And you have to think about, what do you use for your business? You use a computer.
Yeah.
If you don't use a computer for your business, great, good for you. But where are you keeping your customer information? So often people think of cyber policies as policies that are protecting the breach of personally identifiable information as defined by state data breach laws. It's not the case anymore. You could have sensitive information. You could have marketing information, just customer information. There was a business that was compromised recently, and the information that was compromised that the hackers were able to gain access to was their client email addresses, physical locations, and names. So not considered personally identifiable information by any state data breach laws, but very important information to the business owner nonetheless. And they were negotiating the ransomware payment because they did not want their client list posted on the dark web. So they were negotiating with the threat actor for the ransomware payment. And the threat actor got a little impatient and started emailing this business owner's clients to let them know that this had happened. So that's a reputational issue, right? So it's not just about, I don't have, social security numbers or medical records of my customers. I just have their email addresses. You still really don't want that to get out. Also, if your computer is compromised, what if you're not able to do business then? You're going to have a cyber business interruption claim, and that's not going to do any good either. So your cyber policy would cover the ransomware payment. If it has the cyber extortion on it, it would cover business interruption. Just like a property policy covers business interruption if you have a fire, Something similar in a cyber policy, it'll cover cyber business interruption if you have some type of security event or data breach that doesn't allow you to work.
I was just thinking like a digital fire, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Wow. So if you're an agent and you're trying to diagnose what exposures exist for your client, your policyholder, they came to you with the bot that they currently have and said, do you have something a little better for me to protect me from cyber breaches or my data privacy? I have a whole host of information for my clients, and I need to make sure that that doesn't get out. Where does an agent start?
Well, kudos to that policyholder for wanting more coverage than what was on their business owner's policy.
That's one sharp policyholder.
And some business owners' policies, like I said, it's really evolved over time. So I don't want to say that they don't provide coverage. There is coverage out there that could be added onto a business owner's policy, but I've seen smaller sublimits than what you could get on a standalone cyber policy. The agent should really be able to understand what information do you want to protect, what would happen if you couldn't use your computer, or what would happen, what software do you rely on? Because in addition to cyber business interruption, there's also something called dependent cyber business interruption. So if I have all of my email hosted with a particular company and that hosting company goes down and I rely on my email to do business, then that's a dependent business interruption, right? I didn't have a breach, but my email provider did, which caused me not to be able to do business. So understand where everything is housed and what information. And then to take a look at standalone cyber policies, get a few quotes. There's so many different offerings out there. Some may have exclusions. Some may have, higher limits than other carriers are willing to offer. So it's really a mixed bag. And if the agent isn't into reading forms like I am on a Friday night with a bottle of wine in front of the fire, then I would just have them reach out to their underwriter, ask the questions. As an underwriter, I am more than happy to do a policy comparison for my customers. It's not a problem. I think that underwriters would be willing to do that, and answer questions and let them know what underwriting intent is. We intend to cover this. We intend to exclude those types of claims.
Okay. Thank you. It's really valuable, and it's a little bit idealistic to imagine a policyholder coming in and saying, I need higher limits of cyber liability.
Some of them do.
But sure. You read the news, and then all of a sudden, that's a real thing. That burden is placed on the agent mostly, though, right? When they consult with somebody, they want to do their best to understand that this person uses a computer, they harvest data, they have it. And it's incumbent upon them to go find something that is valuable and will protect them should something like this happen. Mm-hmm. So as we continue to talk about this, technology is evolving. We're doing our best to catch up. What do you think is next? Where does it go from here? What's the future looking like?
The future is AI, right? We've heard a lot about AI. So I talked about business email compromise. I talked about checking to make sure that the phone number, use a known phone number rather than the one in the email. There is a situation in Hong Kong where a business owner did everything right. The gentleman got an email from his CFO asking for a wire transfer of the equivalent of $25 million US. And this gentleman was like, no, tried to reach out to the person. And they said, why don't we get on a Zoom call and I will show you face to face. It's me. And so the gentleman hopped on a Zoom call. Not only was his CFO on the Zoom call, but so were a few other senior level executives. And they had a brief call. And the call ended, and the gentleman wired $25 million. Turns out that all of that was AI deep fake. And so that made the news, I believe it was sometime last year, because it's terrifying that someone's able to do this. There is software readily available that I could imitate your voice if I wanted to, because your voice is now out there, compliments of this podcast, and probably maybe some other videos that you've done. Maybe you posted on your social media account.
Sure.
And I could pull all of those videos and use software and impersonate your voice if I wanted to. So all of these threat actors, they're just going to get more savvy, and they're going to use AI to do so.
You talk about ransomware, malicious intent. With this sort of technology, they impersonated a CFO and board members via Zoom.
Correct.
$25 million.
Correct.
That's hard to believe, and terrifying is the word.
Yeah.
It's so important to have insurance and protect yourself from things like this, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what?
It's so important to have insurance and protect yourself from things like
Yes,
this.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely need a cyber policy for a business that uses software, uses computers. A cyber policy is really, really vital.
So it's not just an email with a signature that looks a little funky anymore, and there's a link, and they want you to send a check to a place it shouldn't go, or, it's commonplace to get that text that says your bank's name on it, and there's a link on there with a bunch of letters and numbers. Do you have examples of things like that as well for maybe a smaller business? They're not doing $25 million. They don't have that money. Is that exposure real for them too?
Absolutely. It's everywhere. And the businesses are being targeted. Real estate agents with escrow funds, accountants that pay bills for people. We had one person that I'm aware of that was doing business with the same contractor for 17 years and usually wrote them paper checks.
Yeah.
Got one email asking for a wire transfer and just sent the wire transfer, right? You've been doing
After 17 years, the old school way.
paper checks for 17 years. And that business paid, it was maybe $100,000, right? So it's not $25 million, but $100,000 is a lot for a small business.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a fortune. That's really scary that exists. You think about these, you read them on the news, and if you're a small business owner, you can't afford this sort of thing.
Not at all.
That's really scary. What piece of advice, if somebody that was listening to this show were to leave with one piece of information, one thing to remember, what would you say?
Think before you click. Always look at that link and say, should I click on this?
And apparently, if you get a Teams call or a Zoom call or a virtual call, make sure it's that actual person.
Yes. Question everything.
Audio call, I didn't even think of it. Could be my voice on there saying, send me X amount of money. A lot of my friends, though, would do that, Meredith. Don't call my friends.
Well, I'm going to impersonate your voice.
That is so funny. Thank you, Meredith. You are a wealth of information. I hope we get to sit down another time soon and talk more about this. I'm sure there will be updates with cyber liability in about 10 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely correct.
Any parting words, anything before I sign us off?
No, I just think just stay vigilant, everyone.
Stay vigilant is right. Thanks for being here. Be sure to subscribe to InTrend, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.